Have you ever heard of a story that claims to contain every other story ever told? Well, that's the Mahabharata for you. It's one of the cornerstones of world literature, this massive, incredible epic about family, war, and duty. And today, we're going to break down its core narrative, step by step.
The original text actually ends with this very sentence. In brief, this is the story of the Mahabharata. So we're going to do something a little different. We're going to start right where it ends, with a promise to give you the essential story of this amazing epic as clearly as we possibly can.
So where does a story this huge even begin? You might think it's on a battlefield or in some grand king's court, but nope. It all starts in the mind of a single sage. And it wasn't written down at first. It was shared through the simple, incredible power of the human voice.
The creation of this entire epic comes down to one person, the brilliant sage Vanvas. He was the son of another great sage, Maharishi Parashar, and it was he who composed this entire sprawling narrative. But, just thinking it up was only the first step. See, long before this story was ever put to paper, it was spoken. Vanvas first recited the whole thing to his son, and from there it was passed down in this amazing, unbroken chain of oral tradition. Just think about that for a second. Generations of sages preserving this massive tale, just voice to voice, making sure it would never ever be lost.
All right, so the real heart of the story is the royal family of Hastinapur. King Shantanu's line eventually gives us two princes, the elder Dhritarashtra and the younger Pandu. But there's a catch. Dhritarashtra was born blind, and this one fact changes everything. It messes with the line of succession and really the entire fate of the kingdom. Because of it, the crown passes to the younger brother Pandu, which sets a very fateful precedent.
Okay, so with the line of succession decided, we get to meet the next generation of princes, and it's right here, with two sets of cousins growing up together under one roof, that the seeds of this epic conflict really start to get planted.
So on one side you have the Kauravas, the many sons of the blind king, Dhritarashtra, and on the other side you've got the Pandavas, the 5 sons of King Pandu who had since passed away. So these 5 young men show up in Hastinapur essentially as orphans.
And from the second they arrive, the 5 Pandava brothers are just impossible to ignore. They're super intelligent, they're incredibly powerful, and they have this noble character that just wins over the entire kingdom. They really seem destined for greatness, but, in a royal court, qualities like that can be as much of a curse as they are a blessing.
And unfortunately, their excellence had a really tragic consequence. It lit this burning fire of jealousy in their cousins, the Kauravas. And day by day, that envy just got worse, festering into torment and cruelty. The family was literally fracturing from the inside out.
To stop things from completely boiling over, the family elders stepped in and tried to find a solution. The kingdom was split in two. The Kauravas got to keep the ancestral seat of power, Hastinapur. The Pandavas were given this barren patch of land, which they, being who they were, transformed into the incredible city of Indraprastha. And for a little while, there was actually peace. But that peace was, it was fragile. The success and prosperity the Pandavas found in their new home only made the Kauravas' jealousy worse. And that jealousy led to a fateful invitation. An invitation that would become the great turning point of the entire epic. So, how on earth could a simple game of dice bring an entire kingdom to its knees and basically pave the road to war? Well, because this wasn't just any game. Oh no, it was a perfectly, meticulously planned trap. And here is the key detail. The Pandavas didn't actually play against their cousins, no. The dice were thrown by this guy, the cunning Shakuni, their uncle. He was an absolute master of deceit, and you better believe he made sure that game was rigged from the very first roll.
The oldest Pandava, Yudhishthira, felt bound by his honor to accept the challenge, and with every single roll of Shakuni's dice, he lost. And I mean, he lost big. He lost his kingdom, he lost his brother's freedom, he even lost his own. In a single afternoon, they were left with absolutely nothing.
So after losing everything, the Pandavas were now completely at the mercy of the Kauravas, and their punishment wasn't death. It was something designed to be way more humiliating, a long, difficult, and public exile. 13 years. That was the sentence. Can you imagine? Stripped of their royalty, they were forced into the wilderness, and their chance to ever come back? Well, it all depended on them fulfilling one final,
almost impossible condition. The exile was broken into two parts. First, 12 years just trying to survive in the forest. But that 13th year, that was the real test. They had to live in Agyatavas, completely incognito, in total disguise. And if even one of them was discovered, the whole 13-year exile would start all over again. The stakes could not have been higher.
And yet, against all odds, they did it. They completed the 12 years in the forest. They survived that final year in disguise, fulfilling their side of the bargain to the letter. So they returned to ask for their kingdom back, just as they had agreed. But the eldest Kaurava, the greedy Duryodhana, he refused. The promise was broken.
Well, with all peaceful options exhausted and their rightful claim totally denied, there was only one path left. The stage was now set for the Great War of Kurukshetra, a battle that would pit brother against brother and teacher against student.
This was the tragic but necessary outcome of the conflict. The Pandavas were forced into a war for what was theirs. The fighting was catastrophic, but in the end, justice did prevail. All of the Kaurava brothers were killed, and the Pandavas emerged as the victors, now the undisputed rulers of the empire.
But that victory, it wasn't the end of their story, not even close. After the devastation of the war, the Pandavas ruled justly for 36 long years, and they brought peace back to the land. But after witnessing so much destruction, their hearts just weren't in worldly matters anymore.
Their final act as kings was maybe their most powerful. They abdicated the throne, handing the entire kingdom over to their grandson Parikshit. And then, along with their wife Draupadi, the 5 brothers simply walked away from it all, heading north to the Himalayas to find spiritual liberation.
And that, in a nutshell, is the story of the Mahabharata, a timeless tale of family and duty, jealousy and justice, which really just leaves us with one final question to think about. In its incredible exploration of human nature and moral conflict, why does this ancient story continue to feel so relevant and so powerful, even to us, thousands of years later?